I know that you think you could run your favourite cricket team better than those who do, but no one is going to let you do that. So why not try Wicket Cricket Manager to satisfy that urge? Pick your nation, pick your league, pick your players, and yell at them when they do poorly. You can find it in the links below or by searching for Wicket Cricket Manager in your app store today. If you're enjoying these live chats, our main channel has even more World Cup videos looking at the greatest performances, the quirkiest stats, and the epic tales of World Cup cricket. Cricket is about partnerships, and this show was made in partnership with HCLTech. Yeah, the company you see on the Australian shirts. Supercharge your technology with them today.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Red Inker. And like last time, Jared won't be hosting this. I'm your host for today, Behram Kazi. You can find me at Def Mango. And like last time, we have Estelle Vasudevan with us. And you can find her at Estelle_Vasude. And then the alphabet, not the alphabet, the number 1.
You're saying all that because last time she said that it was just her name. And it turned out her Twitter account wasn't her name. And she doesn't know her own Twitter account.
Yeah, basically. And then, of course, there's the recommendation that she should go with Blind Lemon or something like that. Yeah, there's that. Even though Blind Lemon was a band, no?
Yeah, was Blind Lemon the blues? Oh, was Blind Lemon a band or a blues singer? I can't remember. There's Blind Lemon Jefferson, I think, was a blues singer. And there might have been another band called Blind Lemon as well. Yeah. But Estelle could be the third Blind Lemon.
Yeah, she could. And we have Alexander Plate in the comments already, who's super excited to hear Estelle. And the premise of today's show, of course, is top 5 moments of the World Cup. Now, all of us have our own unique top 5 moments, and we'll go one by one, and we'll give it to Estelle, hand it over to her to kick things off.
I think I was supposed to go first. And
you were?
You threw her under the bus. Do you want me to go first, Estelle?
Yes. Then
please.
Jared will go first. My bad, Estelle.
I kind of like, if I'm watching a World Cup, I think I generally want to go with like the final or, something like that. But I think that the moment of the World Cup is probably Maxwell's 100. Right? Like, I already see, actually was disappointed that the timed out is at number 1. I think the timed out, one of us will certainly be picking it very high. I had a few different ones there, but I think it has to be Maxwell's 100 because I think that is going to last a very, very long time in the way that Kapil Dev's 100 has. And, other incredible moments in World Cup. I think it's the sort of thing that people won't even always remember what World Cup it happened in. Like it's, kind of a little bit going to have a life of its own, like the Lance Klusener run out and all those sorts of things. So, well, the Alan Donald run out technically, but Lance Klusener's fault. But I'm going to go Maxwell 100 versus Afghanistan as number 1 because of the drama, the ridiculous nature of it, the Maxwell. The fact that also it's worth saying that Afghanistan went within 3 wickets of beating who were the eventual title holders as well. Like and in that same game, you also had Afghanistan's first ever 100 in a World Cup, right? So there's so many incredible things. I think that has to be number 1 for me.
Yeah, I think either of us, whoever would have gone first, would have picked that as our number 1 moment. And it's really an immortal innings. No one's ever going to forget it. Australia were 91 for 7, and they still needed 200 more runs to score. And Pat Cummins and Glenn Maxwell, they combined to score those remaining 200 runs. And Pat Cummins, of course, only contributed like 12 of those in 68.
I forgot. I mean, that's part of it, isn't it? The whole Pat Cummins thing is also absolutely ridiculous. So, I think I wanted to do, like, obviously, as actually said, the timed out is certainly more is certainly more fun, but I couldn't quite get it above Maxwell's 100.
Yeah, and also the fact that just the fact that he scored it on one leg practically because he was having back spasms and cramps and everything. So the fact also that he got dropped a couple of times and rode his luck, but fortune favors the brave. And I think a combination of all of those things plus the pressure that he was under because Australia hadn't qualified yet and he was injured. Just the way he went about things, I mean, has to be number 1, right, Estelle?
Yeah, what I liked about it also was the fact that there was so much chat about, personal milestones, and he did get his double 100 as well with that last delivery. I mean, imagine if he'd finished with like 198, right? So that was also, I think, quite special because first double hundred in a chase, and to come in a situation like that was incredible.
Absolutely.
All right, Estelle, stop stuffing around. What's your number one?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, my number one was Maxwell as well, because you just like Jared mentioned, you can't
No,
get
you can't. It's been taken off the board now. You have to come up with a new number one.
another one. Okay, so I would go with, it has to be Head's performance in the final then, because just again the type of, you look at his entire journey in the tournament, having like Australia having the faith to keep him in the squad, and then basically have 14 players for the first half of the tournament, and then he comes in immediately and he's in the runs. What made it special to me actually was the fact that he could not get bat on ball in that first half of the innings, right? I mean, against Bumrah, every other ball was a play and a miss, and to go through that and then he ended with 130 of 120 despite all the slow going in the start of the innings. So yeah, can't go past that, and added to that the catch. So that entire performance in the final was special.
Yeah,
not just the final, right?
Yeah, I didn't know where to put that myself, because like I had it on my list. I'm not sure it would have made my top 5, but I also feel like it should have definitely made the top 5. I mean, it was an incredible moment. I think you're right, Estelle, that the history of it. And the other thing that you mentioned there was really, really important. Early in the tournament, people were having a go at Australia and New Zealand really for carrying injured players, right? Who probably shouldn't have been in the team at all. And in the end, Williamson and Travis Head were pretty sensational. But you're right also to point out the catch, because Travis Head's not a good fielder, and that was a fantastic catch. No, I think that's very interesting. I think traditionally I would have probably had Head first, but I just don't know how the Maxwell 100 couldn't go there. But that's not to say that Head inning should be remembered just as much. Come on, Bayram, what have you got for us? What's your number one?
I mean, before that, I'll get to. I want to speak a bit about Head, and it wasn't just the final; it was the semi also. He got those 2 wickets and 2 balls, right? So it was everything leading up to that final. He'd scored 60 odd in that semi, and he had 100 prior as well. And the fact that Australia kept the faith in him, and he was also their hero from the World Test Championship final. So of course, Travis Head's 100 makes this list, and he could probably, if we were doing top 10 moments, he would probably feature a couple of times, right? But for my number one, and this is going to be a great disappointment for all of those people who think that I'm running some sort of Pakistani propaganda, is Virat Kohli's 50th ton at the Wankhede, breaking Sachin's ODI 100 record, with Sachin in the stands clapping. He's blowing kisses back and forth to his wife. It was a magic moment, and Kohli is, a bona fide legend of the sport. ODI cricket is his best format. And, everything was going right for India in that tournament. That was just like the icing at that point. Of course, it all went to shit later. But at that point in particular, that was one of those moments that when we think of magic moments for India in World Cups, there's the Dhoni 6. Okay, I was too young in 83, but there are going to be a few over there. The Zimbabwe innings, West Indies in the final. Then there is Venkatesh Prasad getting Amir Sohail. So you've got a bunch of these, magic moments. But I think Kohli is right up there. And just because of like the personal narrative and the legend and the fact that, he couldn't score 100 for 3 years. So he scores his 50th in a World Cup semi where everyone is saying that Kohli can't play in knockout cricket. There is that bit of a narrative over there as well, right? He denounced it, scored a ton. India won. So yeah, has to be number one after you guys took the better ones.
For me, I think with him also, it was that he's done it in so few innings when you compare him with Tendulkar as well. And just about, he's probably the cricketer, apart from Indians, the one who everyone loves to hate, right? But you have to kind of step back and say, this guy is the greatest that we've seen, just the way he's gone about things. And I mean, up to that semi-final, if you believed in fate, this is like such a fairy tale, right? Because they've had so many disappointments in the years gone by, and everything was coming together. Kohli was getting to this, this milestone. It felt like it's going to end in a fairy tale. So I think that kind of made it even more special to do it at home, right? Like you said, in front of his idol, basically, would have made it incredibly special for him.
I will disagree on one thing over here. You said he's the cricketer everyone loves to hate. I don't think. I think Kohli is loved everywhere. In fact, Gautam
No.
Gambhir is the cricketer everyone loves to hate for good reason.
Kohli is not loved everywhere. But
Yeah.
even Rohit fans don't always love him, right? Like, he's an interesting one. He's probably not a proper Ricky Ponting, Steve Waugh type villain, right? Or a Juna Ranatunga type villain, but he's certainly got some nice, like one of those villains in a Marvel movie that actually might be doing things for the right reason, but you feel a little bit conflicted about. Like he's got a little bit like that. I didn't have it on my list, and it's only because I don't give a shit about the milestones and the records and everything else. But I still thought it was pretty cool. Bayram, so I went first. Estelle went second. You went third. To be fair, you should go fourth. And then Estelle goes fifth and I go sixth. So that and then I'll do 2 in a row as well, so that you don't get screwed over. I don't want me and Estelle to take all the greatest moments away from you, and leave you with the paltry Virat Kohli making the record for the most hundreds ever.
Yeah, that was definitely not my number one initially, but it was in there for me. And sure, personal milestones and all that, but this is Kohli we're talking about. But my number 2, I think I'm going to go with the timed out dismissal, right? Because we'd never seen it ever on a cricket field.
Estelle is so angry. Look at Estelle's face. She's like, I cannot believe he took that.
Yeah, I mean, 140-odd year history of international cricket and the furor it caused and all of that, really. And of course, Angelo went on a tweeting spree after that. Everyone who hates on Shakib hated him on more. And my take on it is that there is some gray area, of course. When is a batter ready? We mentioned it and spoke about it. I think we probably covered it in an uncovered. Yeah, there wasn't a footmarks on this. But Akshu Dhavala is really happy that this moment is finally mentioned. But yeah, I mean, legitimate mode of dismissal, obviously some gray area. I don't think Shakib was not in his, I think he was well within his rights to appeal. But of course, the helmet situation and when exactly is a batter ready. And then, Matthew's going on a whinging spree. So that definitely takes the cake for me. And yeah, we mentioned this in yesterday's Uncovered, but the moral World Cup belongs to Angelo Matthews.
Estelle, are you upset?
Of course she is.
I just want to also add on, like, not only the dismissal, but also the subsequent press con was probably one of the better ones. I mean, I know Jared's probably been to a couple of Angelo Matthews press cons where he doesn't say much. He's very much of he doesn't give you much out of it. But that day, I mean, he gave you plenty, right? So yeah, I mean, it has to be in the top 5 moments of the tournament. I think all of us would have picked that initially, I think.
Yeah.
And it was part of the Nagin Derby, the second biggest thing in cricket after the Ashes. So I mean, clearly.
But also, because it was kind of a pointless game. The fact that Shakib was saying it was like a war and he had to do it. Then you've got the fact that no one really knows this law, that it's never been used in international cricket before. Like people like me and Abhishek are the only, there are all these people like going through Wikipedia to see all the old stories and everything. For me, it was just an absolutely perfect moment. And, we've had, I think if you look at, World Cup history, you've got like the, Javed Miandad jumping up and down. You've got Courtney Walsh not man-canning against Pakistan. There are little moments that just kind of stick out of games that don't matter. Was it Neil Smith vomiting for England, I think, in a game? Or Sultan Zarawani getting hit in the head. Like, I know it might, there might be some serious cricket people like, I can't believe they went with the time. But these things do stick around, and we are going to remember that for a very, very long time because of how absolutely stupid every moment of it was. And I loved it. Yeah, I'm disappointed that I couldn't pick it as number 1, but I think I feel like a dick if I picked it as number 1.
Estelle, you're up next. Your moment number 2.
Yeah, my second one. I don't think. I'm assuming you guys don't have this on the list, but just the Bumrah Siraj spell against Sri Lanka to start the innings off.
No, I thought that was absolutely one. Yeah,
incredible, like skill wise. I mean, we've talked about the funny stuff that happened, right, with Angelo, but just on skill, it was just incredible to watch. Even as someone who was supporting the other team, right, like that delivery Bumrah ball to Pathum Nissanka. I don't know how better he could. I mean, even if he played with a straighter bat, he probably nicks that behind. So that entire spell was pretty incredible to me.
Yeah. And I mean, they got Sri Lanka out for 50 odd in 2 consecutive ODIs.
I was just brilliant. It was
That
clinical,
was not
wasn't
fun.
it? Yeah, it was fun for me, but especially because hadn't we done a podcast, Estelle, saying that Sri Lanka couldn't bat, then they were bowled out for 50 like 2 minutes after everyone in the comments was going, "You guys are wrong." I just thought it was absolutely brilliant, the skill. I don't know if it would have made my final top 5, but it was certainly on my short list just because of the explosive nature of what that was. And it was hard at that point to look away. Even if you thought, wow, Sri Lanka's not got the greatest batting in the world. It's hard to look at that in a World Cup game and not think that India was playing on a different level than any other team in that tournament. And that was almost that. And I'm sure that there might be another moment that might come up later if I could sneak it into the top 5 as well. Where
Before you go for your next moment, sorry to interject over here, Jared, but there's a fantastic comment by Shafqat Shabir from Crick Quick, and he says in their respective press conferences, Angelo Matthews used the word common sense 8 times, while Shakib Al Hasan used the word rules 3 times, and it should be laws anyway, no?
Well, actually, it was a rule though, wasn't it? Because technically it was playing conditions. So rules is in the middle of laws of playing conditions. I've talked about the common sense thing a lot of times. You could argue that a player walking away from the center of the ground after he's walked out without telling the umpires or the bowler what's happening also would require common sense. And I think that was part of the great thing about the Angelo Matthews sort of losing his mind. Part of it was he couldn't admit that he'd probably had also done something wrong in that situation, which I thought made it even funnier. What else have we got? Is it me? Am I up?
Yes, it's you. Moment number 2.
All right. So we've done what? Maxwell 100. We've done timed out. I can't do that one. Okay, but that's annoying. I'm trying to think if there's. I'm going to go, and this is definitely stealing one of Bayram's, but I don't think I can't not do it. I think the end of the Pakistan-South Africa game.
No.
Because
it is one of mine.
I had that as well.
We didn't have many close games.
Dead batting effort.
Yeah, but the whole thing, like we didn't have many close games, right? And we suddenly get to this point, and then also you've got the whole thing of South Africa had already lost to the Netherlands, and you can almost put that on this list as well because of how fantastic that was. But because they'd already lost to them, and now they're chasing this other score, and it's that perfect middle ground of like, if the Netherlands was just a blip, they'll just roll through Pakistan really easy. And outside of Markram, there was just not a single South African out there looked like he understood what chasing was. It looked like a lot of them were batting for the first time. It was hilarious watching them. It's like watching my dad try and fix his iPhone, right? Like with a hammer and a chisel, right? Like it was so bad watching them all put it together. And then, Shamsi coming out, Shamsi having no idea, obviously, love the great man, but having no idea what he's doing with the bat in his hand at that point.
He's more comfortable with a shoe in his hand than a bat in his hand.
Exactly. and Maharaj looking so comfortable and so assured, while Pakistan then started to panic a little bit as well. I thought it was a beautiful moment. And probably because we didn't have a lot of close games in this World Cup. For me, I think it really, really stood out even more so. And I thought it was a brilliant moment in a World Cup that needed a couple of those, well, at least one, one of those great moments.
I mean, there was also that Haris Rauf catch, and I don't know how he took it. It was also with his weaker hand. I think he took it with his left, and he was
that the court bowled?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the 9th wicket, right? So it added to the drama. And Pakistanis or a fair few Pakistanis will be critical of the umpiring, but then Rasi's dismissal was also one of those things, right? So these aren't excuses.
Umpire's call. Alexander's just put that up in the comments
so
as well.
That's what I was talking about, right? So if you look at Rasi's dismissal, there were 2 umpires calls over there, so it kind of evens out. That's what.
I'm talking about the Shamsi umpire's call as well.
Yeah, so that's the one I'm talking about. That
I thought you were talking about the Rasi one.
Yeah, so both. I'm saying
both.
That if Pakistan were, unlucky with one, they were lucky with another, and that was South Africa's DRS World Cup. Really, it was all like at par. If one went their way, one didn't. It was weird. Anyway, I think it's back to you, Jared.
It is back to me. Okay. There's one I really want to use, and I don't think I can slip it in because I think everyone will think I'm an idiot. I might use it for number 4 and number 5. For number 3, I'm going to go England being rolled by a team with 3 bowlers when they were going to attack the World Cup. Like the whole game, like essentially they lost to New Zealand. New Zealand used 5 players in that game, right? Like the whole thing was so stupid and how much they lost. And I suppose at the time we were just like, is this just a fluke loss, or, is it a write-off game? And in the end, it was their entire World Cup, right? Like, it just turned out that they were monumentally shit, and we hadn't realized. And every single player was going to be out of form until like the last 3 games when it didn't matter anymore. But yeah, like looking at that lineup and going, so that was the first game, wasn't it? Right? Yeah. So I get to my computer and I've got all my 73 screens lined up, and I'm looking at the team going, I think they've put the wrong team up. Right? I think they've put the wrong team up. There's something wrong here. And then quickly, go to Cricinfo and have a look and go, oh shit, they don't have any players. New Zealand's come to a World Cup without any fit players. And then from that moment to watch England not bat particularly well and then get absolutely smashed when they bowled as well. Like, it just made the whole narrative of we're going to attack the World Cup just look so stupid in one game. And in the end, it's not a big storyline now because it all happened like 7 months ago. But for the first week and a half, that was the big storyline, wasn't it? England and Australia not being able to win any games, and one team started to win games and the other did not.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Wasn't it termed as probably an upset as well, the way New Zealand beat England in that situation? Because coming into the tournament, no one really expected England to be as bad as they were, right?
I think it would have been an upset if New Zealand had a full team, but maybe a slight upset if they had a full team. But picking 3 bowlers, it has to be like a massive upset, doesn't it? Like,
yeah.
Because once you saw what the 11 was, even if you thought, New Zealand have got a good chance here, they played some good games against England over there. Once you saw the final 11, surely you had to think to yourself, well, there is absolutely no way this is going to go well for this team. And, the opposite happens, right?
I mean, also the fact that the last time we had a World Cup match, an ODI World Cup match before that one, was that England-New Zealand final, right? So, yeah, they had to settle a score, and boy, did they settle a score. Anyway, Estelle, you're up with your moment number 3.
3, okay. So I'm going to pick one which involves both 2 teams that Jared spoke about. So New Zealand, Pakistan. New Zealand scoring 400 and still losing.
I love how we're just taking his away from him.
Yes.
Pakistan haven't lost enough in this World Cup. We're now just taking everything from him.
You took the one good Pakistan moment I had.
Because it was just incredible, right? Like, I mean, chasing 400 and winning is one thing, but then they ended with 200 for one. And I think, mention, probably if you look at performances of the tournament, Fakhar Zaman's century in that's probably up there, right? Like, after getting left out after the first game.
I didn't have the game as a moment. I had Fakhar's innings as a moment, just because it was such incredible hitting. I know it was only for a short period of time, and although that doesn't take anything away from his knock, but they might still have lost that game, even with his knock. But yeah, I thought, the fact he was left out of the side, which I'd gone pretty hard on early in the tournament, saying it was a stupid idea. And to watch that come back so viciously, the way that it did. And then also because it kept the whole tournament open, that game, right? That innings kept the tournament open when it shouldn't have been, right? Pakistan probably wouldn't have chased 400 if the whole innings had been played. But Bayram, I'm sure, why don't you add to the moment that you would have loved to have said, but you're not going to?
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, there's the context. It kept the group stages alive, and we thought we'd have 19 dead rubbers, but we ended up having only 4 or 5. I think it's hilarious also because, if you're expecting a team to chase 400, maybe the last team you think about is Pakistan, right? Yep. You think that India could do it, England could do it, hell, even Australia, but Australia could do it. Pakistan was not the team you would have imagined doing it. And technically, they didn't chase 400, but they did. And those Mo's to mid-wicket, that was Fakhar at his belligerent best. And also, he had, copped a fair bit of flack. And a lot of people wanted not just Fakhar out of the team, but they wanted him to denounce his Pakistani passport or something. That's where it had gotten to. Everyone was, out with their pitchforks. And for him to come under pressure and deliver like that, and, who's to say? I mean, of course, 1 wicket changes everything. Fakhar goes out, Pakistan loses the game. But also the rain coming at just the right moment and the whole Qudrat ka Nizam situation happening and Pakistan fans getting all excited about it and actually buying into that narrative. I kid you not. People actually thought that, Pakistan will make the semis because, destiny or something of the sort is with them. So I just think that it kept the World Cup alive. And like, again, there weren't a lot of exciting games in the round robin stages. And that was definitely one of them. Is it me?
Yeah.
Am I in with my number 3
Why don't
moment?
you do one, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back with yours after the break? Because, you know, I think we might have stolen a couple of yours. You might need a couple of extra seconds now to...
No, I know mine. This was actually in my top 5. It was probably number 5, and I'm going to, promote it because I think it definitely deserves to be talked about. Not New Zealand. The Netherlands defeating South Africa after having defeated them in the T20 World Cup as well. So they come over here, and Scotty Edwards, first that rescue job, and then the captaincy. And he was one of the most impressive captains all tournament. But just, it was South Africa versus South Africa A, because you've got a bunch of these players like Engelbrecht and Colin Ackerman and all those guys. They could have very well played for South Africa, but here they are. Roloff is another one who did play for South Africa. He's represented South Africa in ICC tournaments as well. 2009 T20 World Cup comes to mind. And it was just one of those moments where you're like, oh my God, they've done it again. And it had to be this way. And South Africa, that's when we started questioning their whole chasing ability, right? Because before that, we were like, this is a great team.
Some of us have been doing it for 2 decades. But yes, no, I mean, you're right. That was the moment where we were like, what's going to happen again, right?
And you could sense it. You could actually smell it.
I think that it's funny. We both had it below the Pakistan one, because I think the Pakistan one had more theatre and everything else. But you're right. The Netherlands one, for Netherlands, this is going to go down as, an incredibly important game for a very, very long period of time, right? And they were absolutely fantastic. And the fact that it wasn't a straight, it's a little bit more like the Ireland win over England back in 2011, where you're just like, they should have been out of that game, right? So if you're an associate team and kind of the toss goes your way and you get ahead early on and the other team starts to slip up, you're like, well, that's fair. That, you've got a bunch of cricketers there. You put some pressure on the opposition, you've lost. But if you've got in a position where your whole top order has fallen apart, you haven't made that many runs to begin with, and then you absolutely smash the opposition, like at that point, you have to say that is a proper win, right? And I thought it was magnificent, and it was probably going to be my next one. So you've screwed me over there.
Oh, all right.
I like that Van der Merwe was central in both those wins for the Netherlands. Like, he's the one who turned things around. And how old is he now? Probably like closing in on 40, right? And still going, pretty strong. So
here's a question for both of you, though. Best celebration ever in cricket. Where does Roloff's rank?
I mean, he's pretty good, isn't he? I mean, I think he's 38, by the way. I was a big fan of Gerald Coetzee's celebrations in this tournament, by the way. Like, there was a lot of very, very good angry celebrations at very standard dismissals at times as well. And he wasn't. And sometimes he was like trying to send a player off, but he got so angry he couldn't remember where they were, and they'd already like walked behind him, and he's just yelling at the clouds a little bit. But no, there's no doubt. Roloff's always been a really emotional cricketer, and it's funny because over the years he's become a lot more professional, but a lot more like straightforward as a cricketer, if you know what I mean. Like he's become more like, when he first started, he was an absolute slow guy. Now he's an anchor batter, although now he's not, because he's 38, he can barely bat anymore. But for years he became an anchor batter. He used to rip the ball sideways. Now he basically bowls straight. But he hasn't lost that fire. And it's one reason I really like. The other reason I really like him is because I've seen him dance, and the Netherlands really do dance on another level. And I don't think we talk about that enough.
Yeah, we should talk about that. And in fact, I think Logan van Beek has a solid career as a dancer once he's done, with his cricketing career. And I mean, I suppose that's a good point now. Good time to take a break. You're watching The Red Inker with Behram, Jared, and Estelle. We'll be back with you shortly after this break.
Support us on Patreon. Join for exclusive perks like AMAs, live calls with me, and a vibrant Discord community. Enjoy ad-free content, early podcast episodes, and access to my emailer, plus behind-the-scenes stuff. We've built our channel on Patreon support, so a huge thanks to everyone who has helped. If you like these live chats, head over to our main channel where we have all sorts of video on this World Cup. There'll be several every week with all the latest trends, stories, and incredible historical content.
Welcome back to The Red Inker with Jared, Behram, and Estelle. And before we even get to the next moment, I think it's your turn, Estelle. It's
yours.
mine? Oh,
Yes.
yeah, it is mine. Well, so
Oh yeah,
Kant in
he
the
gets two.
comments. Yeah. So Kant in the comments says, hey, South Africa is the only team to ever chase 400. So yeah, direct your anger towards Jared. I didn't say that.
I've
Those
got
were
no
his
problem
words.
with them chasing outside of bilateral Sukkant. How do they go inside of it? Not well.
Yeah. Anyway, my next moment is I think Afghanistan defeating Pakistan in particular. Now, of course, I think the England win is bigger because they were the defending champions, or well, attacking champions, whatever you'd like to call it, or whatever Joss Butler likes to call it. But there's a lot of geopolitical tension over there, right? And Afghanistan really, really wanted to defeat Pakistan, and they come close on so many occasions. You look at the 2019 World Cup, you look at those Asia Cup games, you look at that Asia Cup T20 in which Naseem hit 2 sixes. Afghanistan really, really wanted this. If they were given the option to win one game all tournament, they would have picked the Pakistan game. And the way they did it, it was boys against men. They chased down 280 like it was no problem at all. And I think that is one of their greatest moments ever in their sporting history. And that kind of motivated them to win a couple more games, which nearly took them to the semifinals, if had it not been for Glenn Maxwell. And you saw the celebrations after. It just meant a lot to them. And I just think this is one of those moments for me, not just because of the, rivalry, but also because of the way they did it. It wasn't an upset, not in my books. You guys have nothing to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it deserves to be in a list. I don't know. I was trying to work out if I had it on my list at all. Look, I think it was fantastic. Also, it's worth noting that I think in cricket in general, most teams want to beat England, right? Because for the first time, because they're the major team. That's not really the case with Afghanistan, is it? I think Pakistan is their England because those. I mean, if some random white dude hadn't have put a line between those two countries, a lot of the Pakistanis and Afghanistanis would be from in the same place. So. The Durand line might have stopped us from having like a Yugoslavian basketball powerhouse. It's like when Croatia and Serbia had to be broken up, right?
Also, England never colonized Afghanistan. Ireland and Afghanistan are the two test nations which aren't Commonwealth, really.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that's a big part of it as well. I remember talking to, this is a very weird aside, but I remember talking to Peter Saylor about this, and he was saying that like they didn't really think of England as being that big of a deal because like to them it's not as big of a deal. So him playing at Lords was just like, oh, I've heard about this cricket ground before. Seems nice, right? Like, that's not the way that people in the Commonwealth are brought up, right? Like, we're taught about Lords, and Big Ben from a very early age. Whether we need to be or not is another question for bad history. But anyway, I do think that's really good. I didn't have it on my list, but I think looking back, I probably made a mistake there. I think that game definitely should be on the list. And I don't know. I think the England win was fantastic, but I'm not sure the England win should have been above that one anyway.
Yeah. Who's next? You or Estelle? I think it's Estelle. All right then.
So I'm going to have to pick another one from the final. Just Australia winning, because I mean, I can't remember any World Cups before 96. So from 96 onwards, has there ever been a more sure winner than India this year? I mean, maybe 2007 Australia against Sri Lanka, but otherwise, it's sure there are favorites, but like this time it was almost nailed on, right? That India would win, just the way they had played, and they didn't seem to really have shown any weakness in the tournament so far. They hadn't really been tested. I guess that came back to bite them in the end, but they seem to get what they wanted to do. They did get to bat first, and then Australia basically nailed every plan they had come up with, right, in terms of how they bowled. I think particularly, I mean, people talk about Cummins' wicket of Kohli, but I feel like Ayers was the more important wicket in that situation because he's a guy who can take apart the spinners, right? And when you've got Zampa on one end and you only have Zampa and maybe head to bowl a couple of overs as a spinner, that was critical. So just Australia's win as a whole, I felt was, when do Australia come into a tournament and you're surprised they win, right? But this time, genuinely, it was a huge surprise.
Yeah, and also the fact that Pat Cummins in the pre-match presser or whatever had said that he'd want to silence the Ahmedabad crowd. And you trust an Australian to make those kind of statements. We've seen them time and time again.
But he
Nathan
said it
Lyons,
with
Steve Waugh.
like Clark Kent's face, right? So
Yeah. Absolutely. And also, he's the one who took Kohli's wicket and, as you rightly mentioned, Ayer's wicket. So didn't even concede a single boundary in his 10-over spell, brought his best in the final. He had a pretty average tournament with the ball. So yeah, no bigger silencing act than getting Virat Kohli when, the entire world expects him to get another ton.
Yeah, look, it's obviously we've talked about it a lot, but it is going to go down as one of the biggest upsets in World Cup history. Certainly in a final, 83 is probably the only final that really would go against it. I think Pakistan, despite the fact not having a great tournament, they'd certainly had a great couple of weeks coming into 92. So you can't really, have a go there. But yeah, I don't know if I didn't know where to put the final because it kind of wasn't as exciting as it could have been. Maybe it was exciting with the Steve Smith moment. And I thought about putting the Steve Smith LBW in because that, could have been anything. But then after that, the Australians kind of ruined it. But so I'm up to my fourth one. So I got my fourth and fifth. So I'm out here. This is it.
Before you go for that, Alexander Plate has a fantastic comment. He says trophy ceremony is right up there. And I don't know
have they had it yet?
Obviously. Yeah.
Aren't they still waiting for Modi to get out the change rooms?
Yeah, and Modi's change. Did you guys see that video in which he yanked Rohit's hand out of his pocket and literally pulled Shami in for a hug and was like, "Oh, just cry a little bit with me over here. I need a photo op."
It was bad. I mean, I've seen some politicians involved with cricket, but it was so awkward because they had to pretend to be excited that he was there, but they have just lost the World Cup final that no one thought they were going to lose. That should not have been filmed. Should not have been released. I feel really sorry for those guys because I have no problem with him going in. Like, I know a lot of people said, "Oh, you shouldn't have gone in." Look, dude runs the country. He's going to go in any door he wants to. Right? Like, let's be honest here. That's just how these things go. But that's not just what happened here, right? Like, it was clearly, he was supposed to film it. He wanted to look like, the great soother and all this sort of stuff. And it doesn't look like that, right? It looks really awkward. The Rahul Dravid moment of that handshake of where he's like he's almost like, I don't even want to spend any time with you. Like, here, where's Virat? Is Virat here? Where's Rohit? Like, it's just, I don't know. It looks terrible. It looks absolutely terrible. It could almost be a moment on its own. It's not what I've got though. Do you want me to kick mine off?
Yeah, but I don't want you to go with 4 and 5 consecutively. Just do number 4 and then we'll figure this out.
Number 4? Okay. No, that's fine. That's really annoying then. Because I'd written them both down and I don't know which one should be 4 and which one should be 5. I'm going to say when it could be the whole game, but the whole semi-final between Australia and South Africa was such a grit and grind fest. But I think it's the moment when Inglis goes out where you're just like, holy shit. Like, this is going to be... And in the end, I suppose... in some way, Stark and Cummins got there comfortably, but it wasn't comfortable, and it was a proper I think we've had some great semi-finals in one-day cricket history. It's certainly the 99 one. It wasn't quite on that level, right? But this was so tense and so ridiculous, and the way that Australia were going so slow, and now that suddenly for the first time, the runs per over is becoming an issue. And everything else, and again that it was Pat Cummins. So you've got the Maxwell innings, you've got the one up in the losing the moral Ashes, but winning the actual Test match in the Ashes. You've got all these different things with Cummins has been involved in with the bat of recent time.
Yeah.
As I've made the joke before, literally from the moment he demoted himself in the order, he's been a much better batter. I just thought it was just a really tense, great semi-final in a tournament where we didn't have a lot of great tense games. And if you go back right from the start, that partnership, Australia going nuts at the top, but then Klaasen and Markram, then Travis Head out of nowhere getting, spinning the ball sideways. South Africa having to use their tail, all that sort of stuff. I just thought that game was an absolutely brilliant a moment of cricket in what was a tournament that I think we proved had a lot of great moments, but didn't probably have a lot of great games individually.
Yeah.
What I loved about it was the fact that, they preferred Coetzee over Ngidi, and that was probably something that people scrutinized a lot because coming into the tournament, Coetzee wasn't even supposed to be in that lineup, right? But the way he bowled in his first World Cup, and he hasn't played that many internationals as well, I think that was pretty special from him, because we've heard that Rabada was injured or carrying a niggle, something. That's why he didn't bowl. So he had to kind of take that on, and he bowled so brilliantly in that little phase. Yeah, pretty special performance from him. That's why I felt like he was so upset when they did lose in the end. Yeah.
Interesting. Anyway, I think Estelle, maybe you can go with your moment number 4, and then I'll go, and then we'll go back to Jared for
Am
5.
I still on 4 or am I on 5 now?
Oh, you're on 5. You're on 5. My bad.
Yeah.
Go for 5.
Okay, I'll give a shout out to the Sri Lankan guy, Dilshan Madhushanka, dismissing Rohit Sharma of the second delivery of that game. I think it's special because Rohit during this tournament was exceptional. One, because I think he got a duck against Australia in the first game, and then he hasn't scored less than 40 in any other game except for that game against Sri Lanka. And just Madhushanka, again, another guy who hasn't played a lot of cricket coming into the tournament. He had 6 ODIs under his belt, right? And then to have kind of the capacity to think about how he's going to dismiss him and execute that exactly the way he wanted was pretty special, I think. And I mean, overall, he's the one big positive for Sri Lanka throughout the tournament. So as a Sri Lankan, I have to mention him. But it was a special delivery.
Yeah, I didn't really know like how to fit him in. Like, so there's a part of me that was like, he should be in it, but where, like, and so I think that's a good moment. I'd forgotten that one, but I think he deserves to be mentioned in something like, I mean, so do a lot of players. We probably, like Rachin Ravindra is probably not going to make any of our lists at this stage, and yet could certainly do that. And there's many other cricketers that could as well. You know, Marco Janssen is another one. But yeah, Madhushanka, I mean, him and Rachin Ravindra probably have changed their life the most because of this World Cup, right? And you're right with Rohit. And Rohit was another one of like, it won't make my final list, but that Afghanistan knock was, you know, looking back on a wicket that, you know, the way that pitch would end up playing, I thought that was a fantastic innings as well. And so both of those guys certainly deserve to be mentioned there.
And definitely, you know, that wicket on its own, if we think of best wickets in the tournament, this entire World Cup, I think Madhushanka to Rohit definitely makes top 5. I really like Rabada to Inglis in the group game. I think that was also Shaheen to Mahmudullah was another good one. And Maharaj bowled some worldies as well. That ball.
The one that Shubman Gill.
Gill and Neesham, both of them got really, really good ones. I might be forgetting a few. You guys can feel free to mention them in the comments. But yeah, you said that Rachin might get missed. But my moment number 4 is actually New Zealand nearly chasing down 390 odd versus Australia. And again, that was a game which we thought was done and dusted. And
how are you doing number 4 if Estelle's on number 5? Are you sure you've kept your notes down?
Yes.
But you went back to back twice, right? So that's 4.
Oh, you're right. This is my number 5. You guys are correct. Yeah. This is, oh no, it is 4. I just did my counting. I don't know. I messed it up. It's on me. But of course, Rachin starred with the bat in that game. And had it not been for, well, actually, you can't even blame Jimmy Neesham. He's the reason why they got so close. But then missing out on that full toss because Mitchell Starc had done his bit to ensure that New Zealand win. But Jimmy just couldn't get enough bat on that. And yeah, another day, New Zealand would have won and the World Cup would have been over there and then. Group stage is done. But it's interesting how, you know, it was a team that when we were, you know, doing the previews and everything prior to this World Cup, we weren't really rating New Zealand that highly. And then they came and showed us that, hey, we could even chase down 390 and we could lose after scoring 400. I think all of that is amazing. And out of all of the Rachin innings, I think that was my favorite one. That 100 will go a long way in his career. And that too versus their Trans-Tasman rivals, right? Australia. Now that's a big one. And Jared was telling me the other day that in 99, Australia purposely batted slow in the game so that they could get New Zealand out of the tournament or something. So that didn't work out then. And they nearly botched sure shot win in this World Cup. And yeah, that definitely should be one of these top moments, I believe.
The whole New Zealand thing's quite interesting because have they not ended up with a 5-5 record in this World Cup altogether? And they basically beat all the teams they should have beaten, lost all the teams that were slightly better than them, and then maybe you could put Pakistan on the fence because of the DLS game or whatever, whichever way you want to go there. But point being that, like, maybe we were right that they weren't that good, but their one big skill seems to be being able to score really, like, I would say of all the World Cup teams, they were the best chasing team. Right, like I should say big chasing teams. And India never got to a point where they needed to chase anything all that big, but New Zealand looked like they were set up to be able to chase, and a lot of that was Rachin Ravindra being in the side, right? Like you throw him in over Will Young, and I like Will Young, but it just adds an extra bit of dynamism to their side. Plus, he's a very good fielder, and obviously, he can bowl. That's the nicest thing I could say about his bowling. But he just had a fantastic World Cup, all things considered.
All right. And just to tell everyone, I did mess up. In fact, again, I put Behram moment number 3 twice. So I'm done. I'm maxed out. I'm done with all 5. Jared, go for your last one.
Is this it? Have you guys have both done your 5?
Yeah. I have some honorary mentions, but they can wait.
I've got some honorary mentions too. Okay. Oh. So I want it to be Mohammad Shami. But I don't know if it should be the 7 in a semi-final, especially when no one else could take a wicket on a flat pitch, or whether it should be the Stokes 10 balls. I'm going to go to Stokes 10 balls. I think a 7 in a semi-final is absolutely incredible and very hard to go out. But I think for the drama of the Stokes thing, and also, I know I mentioned the England losing with only 3 bowlers earlier, but there is something else about the fact that, how are England doing compared to India at this World Cup? Like the team who's taken over their crown, although not quite, but taken over their position as the most dominant white ball team in one-day cricket. You can't show that any better than Stokes not being able to hit a fucking ball from Mohammad Shami, right? And I know the conditions were playing a part, and he was also trying to hit the ball into the grass to get it dewy. And I understand all the technical reasons of why it happened, but geez, it really did look like, one of us was out there against Mohammad Shami for a little while. And that was, I think, at that point, it was, I know England were already kind of done, but it was hard to not look at them and go, what on earth has happened to this cricket team that they have fallen apart? And remember that game, they played a really good first innings against India, put them under pressure. I think got them 3 wickets down early on. In fact, I think I said before, Rohit with the 100 against Afghanistan. I think I meant the England 100. I think I put down the wrong note there, or the England knock, whatever he made against England. I thought that was a really, good effort by England all the way up, and then suddenly Shami just embarrassed Stokes, and it was brutal and beautiful theatre to watch.
Also, definitely one of the best dismissals of this World Cup. We should probably or could do a whole podcast on that. Some of the people in the comment section have also mentioned Bumrah to Rizwan. I think Bumrah to Shadab was also right up there. And Kuldeep to Joss Butler. You're right. That was a great dismissal. It completely, you spoke about, Shami embarrassing Stokes. I think Kuldeep also embarrassed Joss Butler over there.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think weirdly enough, it wasn't that far away from a bowling World Cup. I think it was about almost par in the end. I didn't look at the final numbers, but I think it was almost par in the end between the two. And who thought that coming into India? And if you did come into India, you would assume that it was the spinners that did the damage, but actually pace bowlers just stood up again and again. Guys like Marco Janssen and Madhushankar, and that we didn't even, or Coetzee, that weren't even on our radar, right? And just had absolutely fantastic World Cup. David Willey, 1 foot out the door. David Willey, bowled beautifully at times. Reece Topley when he was fit as well. I just thought the fast bowlers did brilliantly in these conditions. Now, some of that is those 2 new balls, and we talked about it before of how it does help up top. But I thought the fast bowlers did really, really well in this tournament, and the batters certainly didn't dominate.
Yeah, interesting. So, honorary mentions, guys. Estelle, you want to go first?
Yeah, actually, I can't believe none of us got South Africa scoring the highest total in World Cup cricket in our list. So 428 against Sri Lanka.
I had the Markram part of that, the actual 100, because I thought he played in a way that deserve to be mentioned, but I just couldn't fit it in my top 5. But you're right, that whole innings was incredible, wasn't it?
None of
Just
us even
South
had
Africa's batting
Maxwell.
first was incredible, right?
Hmm.
Just the way they batted, because like I remember doing I did a podcast with someone else previewing the South Africa Sri Lanka game, and someone there mentioned like this is the best South African batting lineup we bring into a World Cup, and I was like, no, you're kidding me, right? You guys have had Callis, AB de Villiers, Amla, Graham Smith. I mean, no way. But they were really batting first, probably the best we've seen from South Africa, because just
Agree.
pure power, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean, it was incredible.
Absolutely. And Maxwell's 40-ball 100, was it? The fastest ever in a World Cup. He beat Markram's record, which Markram had set in this World Cup on its own. And I think that's an honorary mention. I think Rizwan's innings versus Sri Lanka, Pakistan chased down the highest.
That
ever
Chell chase, right? Like,
Yeah.
Again, another World Cup record. I think that's fair. The one I wanted to mention, and I was so desperate to get it in my top 5, but I couldn't, was the 4 run-outs that the Dutch had. And like if you have 4 run-outs in a one day are fine. Like, occasionally that happens, but generally it would be a couple of tailenders involved. But the fact that so many of their run-outs were at the top of the order, it's just not a thing you see. I don't know how you don't put that in.
Yeah, and of course the Rizwan comment as well that came after that innings, that record chase, he was like, sometimes it's cramps, sometimes it's acting. So I think that definitely deserves a mention. And then also he triggered a lot of Indians after that because he made some comment as well. So all of it, at that time, things were looking on the up for Pakistan. It just went all to shit after. Killer Miller's 100 in... Oh yeah, how did we miss that one?
Well, I mean, I kind of mentioned it because I think, my fourth one was that game. And I could have picked any moment. I only went with Inglis because that was the moment of which that game changed. But I did mention Miller briefly there as well earlier. But yeah, that's certainly another one that I would have had. There was another really small one that I like, which was South Africa at the death versus England.
Yeah.
In that game where it goes back. I mean, it was probably better than the Sri Lanka game because the Sri Lanka game, I kind of like us three could have put on 350 in that game. But like South Africa just like going to another level, and you just like, that was probably the only time you went, oh, England are bad at the things that they usually are good at, and they're still bad at the things they're bad at. Like, good luck from here on in.
I think they got like 150 in the last 10 in that game, right?
It was something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, 250 at the 40th over and ended with 399.
Janssen went crazy.
Yeah, Janssen made 70. I can't believe Estelle didn't mention Sri Lanka cricket being banned. Is that not on your list at all? Not even on your backup list?
No.
So I had that on my backup list. I couldn't slip it in, but I thought that was...
With Angelo, I felt like we've done them enough damage.
Also, the PCB threw Babar Azam and team under the bus when they were still alive in the tournament. So there's another one of those off-field moments.
Yeah, I mean, both of those I thought were really interesting. I just thought that the Sri Lanka actually being suspended mid-tournament, well, not even right at the end of the tournament, was such a dramatic thing as well. But it's more all the stuff that happened beforehand. Like the actual suspension is like almost the punchline to the joke. But it was like these 7 different committees who were fighting over who was the committee who was going to fire everyone, right? Like, absolutely incredible. The other one that we didn't mention is Afghanistan chasing. And I think part of the reason was it wasn't one moment, right? Was it 3 chases that they ended up doing, I think? Is that right? And so I didn't know how to fit that in, but I certainly, again, thought that had to be, that was another one that I would have loved to have put in into the final list, but I couldn't get it in there.
Yeah,
I felt they turned a corner in that Asia Cup when they chased 280 something against Sri Lanka in about 36 overs. I think that kind of gave them that belief.
They lost that game, right? They actually lost that game.
They did lose it, but I mean, I think it gave them the belief that it's not just Gurbaz who's going to give you quick runs. You've got guys in the middle order who can really hit the ball, and Zadran, of course, was really good right throughout the tournament as well, right?
It also gave them the belief that if we hired the right analyst, we might win games.
Sukart's put, I like venue of the tournament, Delhi. So Sri Lanka allow 428. Then you got the England Afghanistan game, and then you got the Australia Netherlands game, and the Sri Lanka Bangladesh game. I'd like to go through the history of World Cup cricket to see if any venue has ever had a run of 4 games as batshit crazy as Delhi had in this World Cup. It's not the easiest thing to look up. I'm not sure it's possible, but that is really weird, right?
Formerly known as the Firoz Shah Kotla. I think now it's the Arun Jaitley Stadium. Oh, that's a great one. Fog stops play in Dharamshala. I love that one. I think that we did miss that one.
I can't believe that happened in this World Cup. It feels like 100 years ago. I completely forgot that happened. I don't think that gets in anyone's top 5, but at the same time, definitely worth a mention, right?
Yeah, definitely. If anyone has more, comment below before we end this podcast, because we're out of honorary mentions unless you guys have a few.
No, what I would like you to do is to run us through. I know you might now have the list, but do you have everyone's top 5? Because I know my top 5. Yeah. All right. So put your best presenter's hat on. Pretend you're wearing a suit and you're on Pakistan TV. And take us through each of our top 5s so that we can then judge each other before the comments completely rip Bayram apart.
All right, then, ladies and gentlemen, we have the top 5 moments for Jared Kimber of this World Cup. Maxwell 201 is his best ever moment in this World Cup. And then after that, it's Maharaj versus Pakistan and how South Africa managed to chase that, even though it didn't seem like they would. For number 3, for Jared Kimber, we have England versus New Zealand, the first game of the tournament, and how New Zealand practically won with 3 bowlers, right? For number 4, he has the Josh Inglis dismissal in the semi-final and how South Africa nearly, choked Australia. What a headline that would have been.
The anti-choke.
The anti-choke. And for his last moment, Jared had Shami setting up Stokes. And yeah, another honorary mention, by the way, would be Shami's 7 for in the semi-final. Of course, unfortunately, that couldn't make it. So that was Jared, his top 5 moments. And next up, we have Estelle. Now, Estelle's first moment was Travis Head in the final. I think that is definitely... it was going to make all of our lists, I suppose, at the end of it. And Estelle also had, at number 2, Bumrah and Siraj with the new ball versus Sri Lanka. Absolutely unplayable. And for number 3, she had that Fakhar 100 versus New Zealand that she stole from underneath my nose. And I'm still not happy with that. I still have sour grapes. Number 4 for Estelle was India losing the final and, capacity crowd at Ahmedabad, Narendra Modi Stadium, the drone show that followed, all of that stuff. And for number 5, Estelle had Badhu Shankar's dismissal of Rohit Sharma, an absolute corker of delivery. So for me, I had Kohli's 50th ton in ODI cricket as number 1. Number 2, I had the timed out dismissal of Angelo Matthews. And number 3 was Afghanistan defeating Pakistan, finally, in an ODI. And what better time to get it than in a crunch World Cup game. Number 4 was Netherlands defeating South Africa. Yet again, different format, same old story, great story. Someone should write a book on it someday. And my last moment was New Zealand nearly chasing 390. So I think we pretty much covered everything.
You had Virat number 2, didn't you? The 50th.
Yeah.
100.
I mean, I had Maxwell number 1, right?
Yeah.
And I also had Head as number 2. So both of those got taken away from me.
That's fair enough. Well, you shouldn't. That's your own problem for being the host. If you want to comment and tell us who got the best 5 moments and why it was me, feel free to put those on YouTube or
because you got the best one out right at the front.
Yeah, but don't forget then later on Bayram got the nice juicy ones in the middle there as well.
Yes, I did.
I don't Estelle, I don't think you would have won even if you went first. I just think I think you put Madhushankar in just because you're Sri Lankan.
But wasn't that a moment?
Yeah, it was a moment. Yeah. It was up there. I prefer the Dutch 4 runouts. Did
Shami's 7 for deserve to be in your top 5 ahead of the Madhushankar dismissal of Rohit? Food for thought.
Did my what? Oh yeah. No, that's very point. So yeah. If you've got it, well, you can go. Hey, also Estelle, you could have gone first. You buckled under the pressure of this. But yeah, look, if you want to get in touch with us on, well, not with me, obviously, but if you want to tell Bayram and Estelle why they stuffed up their lists, feel free to do that on social media. But we'll be doing more of these sorts of podcasts. They won't always be on Red Inker. We just done this one on Red Inker because I don't have an episode for this week, and so I asked them to come on. But we've got lots more of this sort of stuff. We've actually got a new podcast that is essentially going to be something like this, and we'll probably drag Estelle into that as well so that we can make fun of her unnecessarily Sri Lankan based picks. But thank you for everyone for joining us, and we'll certainly be coming back with more podcasts in the future. Is Footmarks up? Do we do a Footmarks? this
Yes,
week?
it's up.
What was that?
It's up. It was Australia and their 6 titles. We revisited each of their World Cup winning campaigns. So go watch that if you feel like you haven't had enough fuss. And thank you to everyone who appeared in the comments. Of course, subscribe to this channel and Jared's other channel. We've had unprecedented traction. We've broken records this World Cup. So thank you for all the love.
We were one of our podcasts was Aid Markham and the other one was Glenn Maxwell.
Yeah, basically. So that's going to be all for today. Thank you for joining the Red Inker. We'll catch you again next week with tons of podcasts. That's it. And goodbye. Have a good weekend.
A few years ago, I had a panic attack after ESPN Cricinfo made me their global writer. I'd earned that position, but I also felt like a fraud at the time because I didn't really understand how I wrote. I understand that there was a process and gears and different styles and things, but how it all came together felt a little bit random. And so I began to panic like a golfer with a natural swing, worried one day I'd just end up with the yips. And would my career be over? So I took my writing apart piece by piece until I understood it. And then I figured out I could teach others all the mistakes I had learned. So I started an online course where I tried to make it as cheap as possible so people like me would be able to afford it. It's called Fans with Laptops, and heaps of people from around the world have used it so far, from first-time writers all the way through to professionals trying to improve. I started with a simple plan to make each writer the best they could be. And from the feedback I've received over the years, it seems like the course does that. But after COVID, my career changed. I came to YouTube, started podcasts, wrote emails, and formed a new career on my own going forward. So I now had something else to offer, the multimedia side of things, social media and everything else. Not to mention that I was building everything up as an independent. And so I added all of that to my course. So if you have ever wanted to work in sports as a writer or podcaster, making videos or anything else, Fans with Laptops is the place to start. If you think you qualify as a fan and you have a laptop,